Well, I'm sorry to say that I think that in 10 years' time, new entrants will not have the option of joining a defined benefit scheme. Already, most of the defined benefit schemes are closed to new entrants, and the ones that are not, many of them are working on closing. So I don't think it will be an option in the future. I think defined benefit was a good model, and it has provided many good pensions to people today. But increased regulation, in fact greatly increased regulation, and also the mark-to-market accounting requirements, and the general failure to realise just how expensive pensions are has turned off corporate decisions on these things. And so I think employers are not prepared to go along with the volatility and the uncertainty of defined benefit pension provision anymore. So this is pessimistic, but I don't see any great future. Also, I suppose the employer covenant was an important part of pension funding, and employers either cannot or will not give covenants now in these circumstances. Most defined contribution schemes have one serious flaw, which is not enough money is going into them. So I think the contributions would have to be greatly increased to make them sustainable. Another issue they have is that frequently the employee is allowed to make their investment decision, and most employees are not geared to make investment decisions. So that leaves the trustees in a position that the trustees have quite a serious responsibility. I think the trustees have to, first of all, make sure that that the funds they're offering to the employees are the right ones and safe ones. And secondly, a lot of the employees' money will end up in the default investment fund anyway. So that has to be kept under scrutiny to make sure that it's both balanced and that it's up to date in its investment strategy. So trustees have quite a responsibility. I think that there is quite a bit which will need to be done. Communication will need to be improved, and there are a few perceptions around which are putting off people joining defined contribution schemes, such as that the pensions industry fees are too high. In Ireland, the government has just announced an inquiry into investment fees for pension funds because there is this negative perception about how high they are at the moment. The financial crisis certainly has damaged the popularity of pension funds of all kinds, but of DC in particular, because individuals feel strongly that they see the pools of money they've paid in have actually reduced rather than increased, and they've lost confidence. Of course, they've also lost confidence in in investing generally and in the financial institutions. And once you've lost confidence, it's very hard to get it back. So that is a problem. I think any country which has a voluntary system is going to face this problem in the future. And my own belief is that we'll all end up with not only quasi-mandatory but mandatory systems in the end as the only way to make provision. And part of that is because of what's happened because of the financial crisis. Also, of course, people's incomes are down, and pension contributions are one thing you can cut out at this point in time if you have more pressing demands, and so people will reduce or stop their pension contributions. And of course we're also seeing corporate closures, and we're seeing rising unemployment in both the UK and in my own country, Ireland, and that is affecting the membership of pension funds. Well, I suppose what can be done, back to the old chestnut communication, that both at a sort of government national level you need to get across the importance of pension saving, that any saving is better than no saving, and if we end up with a situation where we have elderly poverty in a country, that is going to be a very serious national issue as well as a personal issue. And there has been there is quite a bit of good work going on at the moment on behavioural economics, which are trying to identify what is the best, how to influence savings behaviour. and what would be desirable, and indeed what would be the effective outcomes from saving. And I understand that in the UK the government-sponsored Nest scheme is actually targeting its young, low-paid population on the basis that they are risk-averse and that they would react badly, in fact, very strongly and emotionally to loss, so they're loss-averse. And that I don't know whether some people don't approve of what's called nudge economics, but it may be that would be helpful. In terms of Ireland, we had seen a big growth in defined contribution in Ireland. Over the last decade, defined contribution had increased, more than trebled. And we'd reached a stage where half the people who were in private pension schemes in Ireland were actually in defined contribution, and a third of the assets of Irish pension schemes are now in defined contribution. But that's taken a hit with our rising unemployment in Ireland, and with our various other reduced incomes and corporate closures and corporate cutbacks. So all pension numbers are going down. Also, we have a lack of certainty in Ireland about our pensions, our national pensions framework, our strategy. The government hasn't actually said what it's going to do in terms of pensions, and recently we had a levy introduced on all pension funds, on the assets of pension funds, and for defined contribution that was 0.6% of pension fund assets at the 30th of June. Now that did not go down well because it was seen as a raid on pension funds. The purpose was to create a fund for job creation, but the pension funds felt that they had their own problems, and it has also given a level of uncertainty, and there's also talk of changes in the taxation structure for pension funds. So all of that has created an uncertainty which has hit the Irish pension population quite hard. So I think one thing that's absolutely key if you have any kind of voluntary pension system is to have certainty. So I would hope that the Irish government would give us certainty in the near future.